Welcome to the first Asterisk Discord tournament. My Discord server really wanted to have a tournament put on, and this is the results, basically. This is the first round. I didn't get to record literally everything. Maybe next time we'll be able to do a better job of that. But this first video will be the first round, which will be a mirror match between two Kagero players, and then next time, there will be my matches, the ones I participated in directly, and then after that, we will be having the third place tiebreaker and final match. And it was a pretty fun tournament. The rules were each contestant has one single deck each round is best of three, and that's basically it, really. Big thanks to Tisbury, who actually organized it. I pretended I did stuff, but it was really Tisbury that did everything. So big thanks to her. And if you're interested in joining a tournament similar to this one in the future, join the Discord server below. I think that's everything I had to say, so see you in a sec. Okay, so we start with Hugo versus 1 from my Discord server. I say Discord server, they're all people from my Discord server, but thought I'd clarify that. So this one's a Kagero versus Kagero mirror match here. Well, I say mirror match, but actually they're using two different decks. I know that Hugo is using Amber Dragon, whereas 1 is not. One thing to clarify is that this round, it's a best of 3. Every round is a best of 3. This round went a bit slower than the other ones. A bit of a slow start. For some reason, they just took a little longer to make their moves than everyone else, but hopefully we can kind of make through this fine. And of course, I'm not necessarily blaming them because, you know, what can they do? I'm sure something was going wrong. So there's Amber Dragon out there, as I mentioned, and that's the other thing. It's a bit rough around the edges, just in general. I blame myself mainly for that because this is my first time doing anything like this. In fact, it was actually Tisbury that made sure that all of this was actually working. She is an admin of my Discord server, and she actually had experience with setting up tournaments and stuff, whereas I was just kind of sat there going, what do I do? So there's that. Hopefully next time things will be a little less rough around the edges, and we'll actually be able to do this very cleanly and professionally. But of course, there's only a certain amount of professionalism you can expect from someone like me. So we're going to 1's turn right now. He's going to draw a Goku and a bar, so there's that. Goku's a pretty decent card to have in your hand. It's definitely one of the better grade 3s to have. And of course, his Forerunner allows him to add a grade 1 unit to his hand once he decides to use that. He's already got a perfect guard, so maybe he will choose to add a second one. I guess we'll find out later. So now he's just kind of trying to decide what it is he's want to do. Seems pretty straightforward to me. Yeah, you're going to want to attack with bar right now, so there's that. But yeah, I couldn't record absolutely every round. Next time I'll see if there's a way around that, of just recording absolutely every single round of the tournament, if there's enough interest, of course. So damage check, no triggers on either end. So pretty standard Kagero game here. Kagero was definitely the most popular of the clans for this tournament, which shouldn't be too surprising because Kagero are pretty good right now. They're a lot better than, say, for example, Bermuda, I would say. So we're going over to Hugo's turn, taking a little while to stand and draw, but he's got it. It is weird to me that spectator mode, because that's what I used to get this footage. Spectator mode actually allows you to view one of the player's hands. I would have assumed that they would just hide both players' hands just for the sake of making it fair, because, you know, the spectator could, for example, be spectating one player and telling the other player what they have, which would make cheating a thing. So I do think that's a bit of questionable design from Bushiroad there, but I guess, you know, the spectating wouldn't be all that interesting if you couldn't see any hands at all. So I guess it makes sense. It's just I don't think I've ever seen any other trading card game, video game, let you actually spectate someone's hand that you aren't playing as. So, yep. So, Amber Dragon Daylight, there's that. You managed to get to grade 2, that's cool. And then he's going to be going and attacking. So, as I mentioned, this was a pretty slow game. It seemed like both players were fairly stalling out. As you can see, Kagero is usually a pretty offensive heavy clan to be using, whereas so far we're only really getting one attack in per turn, which is weird. Kagero usually want to kind of rush out units and just kind of take out everything your opponent has. Maybe they know that, maybe they're playing mind games with each other, because of course they are playing similar decks to each other, so they know that Kagero is really good at retiring rare guards, and so they're just refusing to send many out. Maybe that's what it is. They're like, hey, they can't retire my rare guards if I just keep them in my hand instead. So maybe that's what it is, but I don't think it would have hurt to get some front rare guards out on the field anyway. We do know that one has at least another bar in their hand at the moment. They get another grade 2. Like, see, they've got 3 grade 2 units in their hand. Hopefully, let's see if they actually use them. So, yep, it's one's turn right now. Interesting hand. Lots of grade 1s, lots of grade 2s, and a grade 3. So, we're sending out that. And we're going to see what it is they're actually planning to do here. So, okay, they're using Conroe's ability, probably to get a perfect guard into the hand, I would assume. Yep, seems like it. Makes sense. And now we're going to see what they do. Will they send out any more front rear guards? Yes, sending out Nihilum. That's good. Potential for getting a second attack in now. That's very good. Holding back on the other Nihilum, which is interesting. I wonder why that was. Maybe so they just have it for the next turn, just in case all goes wrong, so they're kind of delaying out those intercepts, trying to take full advantage of them. I don't know, that's not necessarily what I would have done. I would have sent out both Nihilums, personally, but that's just me, of course. They're going to get a heal trigger that they won't be able to use, because they already have less damage than their opponent anyway, but it's going to give them a power boost that they didn't really need. So there's that, right? So now Yugo's at 3 damage, so we are actually starting to get to places here. That's good. That's definitely very good. And now it's going to be Yugo's turn to see if he can counter-attack. Again, because we're spectating, we don't know what Yugo has in his hand, so we can only speculate at any given time. We don't really know what it is he's going for here. We definitely get more of a kind of insight as to what one's thought process is. I definitely think everyone in the tournament played really well. Later on in the tournament, there are some very, very, very close games, and that makes things very, very fun. And a lot of the games were very unique. Like, again, this first game that started off the tournament, it was an interesting one because, yeah, we got 2 Kagero players versing each other and taking it surprisingly slowly, as you'll see later on in these games. So we're sending out Amber Dragon. That's good. So he managed to get his right chain pulled off successfully from the looks of things. That's good. So now we'll have to see what it is he's planning on doing with that right chain. Hopefully he'll be able to get rid of Nihilum and get at least 1 attack on the Vanguard. But I guess we'll see. Of course we will see. So, okay, sending out another grade 3. That's good. We'll be able to take out Nihilum now. That's very, very good. And sending out a grade 2 unit. So, hopefully we should be able to get 2 attacks in on the Vanguard successfully. But, of course, I have to see what it is they do. Yeah, I'm using this as kind of an opportunity to practice commentating. I've never commentated anyone else's Vanguard match before, so hopefully I'm doing a decent job here, but of course, there's only so much I can do when watching a Kagero match, because I am not familiar with Amber Dragons at all, as you can probably see. So hopefully in future, we can use this practice so that I can get better at it, right? I'm willing to admit my faults. And hopefully this is an interesting to watch battle regardless. So now we finally are getting places. Yugo has a full field on his side, which is great. That's going to give him a lot of freedom and a lot of opportunity to get some attacks in, as well as one of those front rear guards also being a grade 2, meaning that he will hopefully, you know, still be able to have an intercept, which is good. So it still gives him some defenses when it comes to one's turn. So Yugo's doing pretty decent right now, as long as he can get both attacks in. I don't know if I would have attacked with a Vanguard first. I would have probably went for that other rare guard. But hey, that's just me. No triggers from the looks of things. That's unfortunate. That's going to slow the game down even more. So that isn't very good, but oh well, what can you do, right? So that's one attack successfully in, and a draw trigger for one, which is going to boost his damage quite considerably, and that's going to stop Yugo from getting that next attack in, which is very unfortunate. He kind of really needed that second attack in to kind of even things up a bit more, but at the very least he managed to get rid of one's back rear guard, so that's something. Ooh, he's gonna be going for the attack anyway. Maybe he has an ability or something that will let it go through. No, he's just doing it for the sake of it. Maybe now activate an effect or something. I don't know what his thought process is here. Nope, just a useless attack, just slowing the game down even more than it needs to be. Okay, that's fair enough, I guess. So now we're going to be switching over to one's turn, and he should have, he should be sitting pretty happy right now, because it's only just come to his turn, and he's still in the lead when it comes to damage. That's going to put him in some, in a really good place. He's going to send out Goku and heal him. Ooh, interesting, that's Tejas. Tejas, of course, has the ability to attack the back rear guard that's opposite to him. So he can use that to take out Yugo's grade 0 if he wants to. And of course, it's going to give him another intercept. Yugo is interacting to that. Attack with the Vanguard, getting a heal trigger, doesn't need it, but he'll take it anyway. He's probably going to give that to Tejas, right? Yep, he will indeed. Interesting that he attacked... I was going to say, it's interesting that he attacked the intercept with his Vanguard, but I don't think he had any other choices. I don't think he was ever going to get any other attacks in anyway, so I guess he had to, right? Again, it's only really when you're running crits that you should really worry about attacking rear guards with your Vanguard, because of course if you attack a rear guard with your Vanguard while you're running crits, you'll be just wasting that crit because you cannot assign that crit to one of your own rear guards, so you're effectively just wasting it. But I don't think this deck is running crits, is the thing. So I think he can kind of get away with attacking the front rear guards a bit more leniently now that he doesn't need to worry about that. So that's at least something. That's so Yugo's currently at 4 damage, one is at 2, and of course one has 2 perfect guards. We don't know how many perfect guards Yugo has, but at the most it's 2, right? So right now one is definitely in a favorable position of the 2. If Yugo was able to get that extra attack in the previous turn, then things might be looking a little better for him right now, but it's not looking great. He's going to have to pull out some really good moves here in order to even things out, especially considering that one is using so many intercepts. But then again, Kagero is a clan that's known for being able to retire and ignore intercepts pretty easily. I don't think Yugo's running a blockade, but for example, if he was running a blockade, that would make things a lot more easy for him here. Ooh, sending out a grade 1, huh? That's a pretty... Sending out a grade 1 to the front rear guard this late in the game is usually a move that reaches desperation. Looking like he's pretty desperate to just get any attacks in, even if it is just with a front rear guard grade 1. So that's not great, but hey, you can use it to take out one of the intercepts, so it's better than nothing. It also means that he has at most 1 perfect guard in his hand, which is not as good as 1. So 1 could potentially be ending this next turn. And of course Yugo doesn't have any intercepts anymore, which is a very bad position to be in right now. So that's not great. So he's going to attack the intercept with Goku. That's going to go through successfully. Also right now is a good example of why it would be favorable to run stand triggers, potentially, because if Yugo could get a stand trigger around about now, he could stand that Goku back up again and boost with it, allowing him to get another attack of the Vanguard. And honestly, any extra attacks he can get on the Vanguard at this point would be favorable, but I don't think he can. I don't think he's running stands. So things aren't looking all too great for him. But we'll see what he can pull out anyway. Will he be able to get any triggers from this damage check? Not the first one, at least. What about the second one? Nothing. That's a shame. Yep, things aren't looking too great. This will be the second turn in a row where one is starting his turn with less damage than his opponent, which is definitely a good position to be in. Of course, he has used up a lot of his heal triggers in situations where he hasn't been able to actually take advantage of them, but that doesn't matter because he's not really taking much damage anyway. Okay, so now we should be passing off to one's turn right now. He does have a pretty empty field is the thing. That's the only thing I would say that puts him in a not great position, but I don't think that's enough to really stop one all too much. He's going to draw another grade 3, so he's going to probably have a full front row if he wants it, which is going to put him in a really good position here, potentially a game-ending position. Like, when you think about it this way, he's going to get 3 attacks in the Vanguard if he can pull the triggers he needs. Yep. And that's going to make it possible to beat him. Of course, I think we can all agree that one card in Yugo's hand is probably a perfect guard, so we'll have to see. Interesting that he gave himself the power there. I guess his attack wouldn't have gone through if he didn't, but that's fine because he's going to get a second trigger anyway. So he's going to give that to one of his front right guards, and he's going to activate Goku's ability to retire Yugo's back row, which is definitely, oh, and there's a perfect guard that Yugo's wasting. At this point, wasting a rare guard, a perfect guard, is not a good thing to be doing, and he's going to be taking out his Goku. So basically, I think we can agree that unless some really insane moves get pulled by Yugo here, one has won the first of the best of 3 battles. So there's that. Again, Yugo might get the exact triggers he needs and the right card draws he needs, but he's got an empty field, far more damage than one, and one has 2 perfect guards, so he's realistically going to have to do at least 5 damage this turn to end it, and if he doesn't end it this turn, then I don't think he's going to be able to hang in for another turn on top of that. So it's looking like one might be the winner of this first round, but who knows? I've seen some pretty insane moves be pulled off in Vanguard before, so maybe Yugo will be able to do that. I guess we'll see. So Yugo is not going to ride this turn. He's going to go over to his main phase, and he's going to send out a card behind his Vanguard. Interesting, interesting. Yeah, he doesn't look very happy about this, does he? Yeah, like I said, interesting. Yeah, he's only really realistically gonna get 1 attack through this turn, which is not good. It's not gonna really even scratch one, honestly. And first check, no triggers. What about the second check, though? No triggers. Wow, he just is not getting the triggers he needs. That's a real big shame. Not that the triggers would have really changed much at this point, but maybe he could have got a heal that would have helped him hang in for maybe one more turn if he needed to. But even then, it's not looking all too likely. One has a pretty stacked hand right now of intercepts. Not that he needs them, but he has them. And it's going to pass over to final to one's turn, and yeah, it's looking like this is going to be the last turn of this game. Again, unless Yugo can pull quite a few heal triggers. So it's safe to say, as I mentioned earlier, that card in his hand is probably a perfect guard. I think we can all pretty much agree on that. But, ooh, he's moving his grade 3 backwards to send out a grade 2 instead. Interesting move, interesting move. That's going to help him get another attack in though, which is good. Which is going to waste Yugo's perfect guard, and he's just going to attack again anyway. And, yep, that's going to end it. So, round 1, one has got 1 win and needs 1 more left to get to the next round. Okay, so we are going for the rematch between Yugo and One. So because this is a best of 3 system, that means that One only needs, well, 1 more win to get through to the next round, but don't count Yugo out quite yet, because Amber Dragons can be pretty powerful when they're used correctly. So it's anyone's game here. Yugo still has the chance to make the comeback. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. Let's see how this goes. So the interesting thing about this tournament and how it's set up and the rule set I went for is I put a strict one deck only policy. Once you have played one game, that is the deck that you are stuck with for the rest of the entire tournament. No editing deck, no switching out decks, no having a second backup deck, none of that. So this rematch will be between the exact same decks as each other. So we're starting, and they're sending out the perfect guard already. Oh no! Yugo! That's not great. That's pretty rough. I can only imagine what was going through his head as he did that. Immediately after he got his first loss, he has to send out his perfect guard onto the field. That is not great, but hey, you know, everyone loves an underdog story. Maybe the underdog will be able to make it out successfully. Time will only tell. No, don't look at the seek bar of the YouTube video to see how much time there is left. That's cheating. So yeah, as I was saying, this first game, this first round between the two Kagero players was actually the slowest one. But that doesn't mean it's the least exciting. We still have a lot going on. The previous game was quite an interesting one to see. It was interesting to see a Kagero player who had all the cards they need, had excess options, had plenty of intercepts at any given time, versus another player who just kept getting beaten down every time they sent out intercepts. They were immediately gotten rid of. It just wasn't a fun time. And so it's interesting to see the difference between the decks. Does that mean Amber Dragon is inherently a worse Kagero deck than the one that one is using? I don't necessarily think so. It could be the luck of the draw. But I guess we'll see, right? We'll see if he does a better job this time. So unfortunately, because he had to send out that perfect guard, he's broken his ride chain already, which means that when he sends out the grade 2 Amber Dragon, it's gonna suffer and lose damage because it doesn't have the grade 1 equivalent below it. That's how Amber Dragons work. What you want to be doing is you want to be building a ride chain, which is when you send at each Amber Dragon out over its past self and ride it on top of each other. And because he's already broken that chain in his very first turn, that means he's not going to be getting the benefits from this. Which means that one is probably pretty happy right now. He's probably seeing this and realizing that this is going to break a lot of Yugo's strategy going in, and it's going to give one a lot of room for error and a lot of room to capitalize upon this. So will he be able to do that? I guess we'll see. So he's already got 2 perfect guards in his hand. That's pretty good. That's going to put him in a good position. Chances are Yugo probably, and a third one, chances are Yugo isn't going to have as many perfect guards as he would originally want to because he had to send that one out. But of course he might still have some left. And that's the thing. Even though Vanguard has the ability to mulligan, that's not going to guarantee you the cards you want anyway. And now one has all 4 perfect guards, which is going to put him in a very, very good situation. So now not only has Yugo wasted one of his perfect guards and broken his ride chain, one has all 4 perfect guards, which is going to be a real pain in Yugo's side. So already this is a really dynamic and interesting card fight. Just right at the beginning of the tournament, even though we had the rocky start with technical issues and stuff, it's still a really interesting game to see. And that's what I like about the tournament setup. It does definitely create this air of tension. So yeah, maybe Yugo would have had a better shot here if we did allow for multiple decks, but I like the idea that you have to rely on the deck that you've submitted, no matter what. Even if you get wins, even if you get losers, no way of tweaking, editing your decks, you just have to commit to it. I think it puts more importance on the deck building aspect of the tournament to me, because it means that you have to have 100% faith with the deck you're going in with, and you can't just switch out decks to kind of better deal with your opponent's weaknesses. So he's going to be riding, and it looks like it's going to be Amber Dragon again, which makes sense. So he's managed to kind of recover from his broken ride chain from earlier, which is good. So we'll be able to see what it is he's going for going forward. So already is at 3 damage, which isn't great. 3 damage you do not want to be at within the first turn or two. So this isn't the best position to be in, but it's certainly not one that's impossible to come back from. Again, Yugo's been kicked while he's down quite a bit this game already, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't have ways of coming back. I feel like to say that would be underestimating how Kagero work as a clan. So I'm going to be sending out Goku on the front rear guard, which is interesting. And he's definitely going to be able to get rid of the opponent's intercept using this attack, and hopefully he'll be able to get both of these next 2 attacks in on the Vanguard, allowing him to even the damage quite a bit and kind of even the playing field. Of course, it definitely won't get rid of the 4 perfect guards or anything, but at least it will make some aspect of this game even. And as you can see, Yugo is burning up his hand quite quickly. He's only got 2 cards left, whereas one has 5. He's gonna draw a crit, which sucks. And the reason I say that sucks is because if you're running crits, you want to attack his Vanguard with your Vanguard last. That's the last thing you want to be doing each turn, because getting that crit is going to allow one to boost his power quite a bit, which will make it very difficult to get the next attack with Goku through. It won't be impossible, but it's going to make it a lot harder. But he also got a heal trigger, which is definitely evening things back up again. And one is going to get a heal trigger that he can't use yet, which is very unfortunate. That's bad timing for the trigger pulls. And in fact, he's going to get a second one. This one he can use, however, because their damage was even at the time that he pulled it. But that's already 2 heal triggers pulled. Not that he necessarily needs them, because he's got the Sentinels. But it's a good thing to bear in mind that your opponent has used half of their heal triggers already. At least, of course. So that's a good position to be in, but of course, because he attacked with his Vanguard before Goku, that means that he couldn't get the attack with Goku through first. So that's a prime example of wasting a crit. Still managed to use it to get 2 attacks in, of course, but what you really want to be doing is using that crit the very last thing you're doing. The very last thing you want to do each turn is pull the crit, because the crit counts as 2 attacks, which is going to give them double the power boost because of it. So it's going to take out the intercept with Tejas. In fact, not Tejas, his Vanguard, which is interesting. Using some pretty underpowered cards right now in terms of the power level, and he's going to get a defensive crit with his Dragonic Overlord. And that's going to create a pretty unsuccessful turn for one here. He manages to take out the grade 0 unit in the back row, which is something at least. That's, you know, better than nothing. But he didn't get a lot of damage done, which isn't great. So that's going to give Yugo some room to maybe actually make a comeback here, you know? Is it likely? It's not the most likely. Is it possible? Absolutely. And now that we know he's running crits, that makes things a lot more possible. So he's going to stand and draw. Taking a sec to do so. That's fine. And he's going to have 3 cards in his hand, which is going to give him some options. Again, safe to assume at any given time that at least one of those is a perfect guard. But that's going to give him some cards to kind of make a move here. Unfortunately, one's front row is filled with intercepts, so you're gonna need, there we go, you're gonna need another card out there to get rid of those and still get an attacking on the Vanguard, which he should be able to do pretty handily. Now, of course, the intercepts aren't the most powerful cards in the world. Funnily enough, one's cards aren't that great in terms of power level, which is very unusual for Kagero. Not the most unlikely thing in the world, but it is very funny to see Kagero units be described as underpowered in any way. So he's going to take out one of the rare guards, Tejas, and he's probably going to attack Helm with his rare guard now. Yep, that makes sense. And then we'll be trying to get a fairly clean attack in on the Vanguard next, which makes sense. And maybe he'll be able to pull one of his crits, because we don't know how many of those he's running. I don't remember any crits being pulled last game, but maybe he was just particularly unlucky. So that attack's going to go through. We're going to do a drive check. No trigger for the first one. What about for the second one? No. So the interesting thing to note is, as I mentioned, these games are quite long. These first two, like, they're pretty long in terms of, like, length. And the funny thing is, at this point, a lot of people in the Discord server were kind of panicking because we set the lenient amount of time to have every best of 3 round take 45 minutes each, because we thought, each card fight will be around 10 or so minutes each, so 45 minutes will be more than enough time to have 3 games in and get the best of 3 winner decided. But at this point, we're already starting to get pretty close to that 45-minute limit halfway through the second card fight. So there was kind of even more pressure on one to win here so that we could actually get this tournament bracket done in time, which is very interesting. Now the reason this first bracket went before the rest of them, the rest of the next round all happened simultaneously. So we had like 4 or so card fights all going once. Oh, defensive crit. We had like 4 or so card fights going on all at once, which is why I couldn't record everything. And the reason we had this standalone one going first is because we had the wrong amount of competitors, and so we needed to figure out who actually could make it into the next round in the first place. And the seeding for the tournament was completely random, so we didn't want to rig the seeding or anything like that at all. We just went hit random, whoever goes, basically. And so it just happened that Yugo and One were the ones who were forced to fight over their place to get into the first actual round, so I do apologize to the two of them. But it's not like there's all that much high at stake in this tournament in the first place. This is very much just for fun, just to try things out and see how they go. So Yugo's getting a pretty full field here, which is good. And in fact, on the kind of converse or whatever, One doesn't have a very full field. He's got 1 intercept, and that's it. And that's going to be taken out pretty handily. So that's going to give Yugo the opportunity to get a lot of damage in here if he can. Especially considering that One's Vanguard is so underpowered. In fact, that's another thing I've noticed here too. No grade freeze. See, One has maybe been able to get some luck in terms of getting all the perfect guards and stuff he needs, but he doesn't seem to be getting any of the grade freeze he needs at all, and that's putting him in a really bad situation here. Maybe even a bad enough situation that those 4 perfect guards won't even really matter in the long run. That's a really interesting thing. So the luck of the 2 players is kind of switched. We started this game with Yugo being so desperate he had to ride his perfect guard, and One having seemingly all the cards he needed. Whereas now, One doesn't have any grade freeze and isn't able to ride until he can draw one. And there's another trigger. Maybe a draw trigger that will give him what he needs. Nope, another grade 1. That's not great. But it's fun to see just how much your luck can change throughout the course of a card fight like this. That's why you should always kind of keep playing a game even when you think you're going to lose, because something like this could happen where the other player just doesn't get the cards they need later on in the game, and that'll give you enough of an edgeway to really take the advantage. So now One is only at 1 damage left until they've lost. Now, of course, they do still have those perfect guards, and that cannot be understated enough. But those perfect guards, they're going to protect you for 4 attacks potentially. But, if he can't get any grade freeze, it doesn't matter. Those 4 attacks, he won't be able to do anything against anyway. So he is getting another intercept out in the field, so that's something that's definitely going to help protect him. But it's funny to see a Kagero playing so defensively. And in fact, that's not what I would have done. I wouldn't have attacked the Vanguard there. I would have made sure to get rid of the front rear guards. Because yes, you can defend from the front rear guards attacks, but if you can't get that grade 3, you kind of have to get rid of them. Because I guess his plan was to just win this turn. But if your plan was to win this turn, I would have just sent out 2 of the perfect guards, boosted with them, and got another attack through. But that's just me. Would that have been possible? I'm not sure, but if the game plan was really to win that turn, you may as well go all in and place down the perfect guards, because that's the thing. A lot of people will swear by just keeping the perfect guards in your hand no matter what, and just never ever using them unless you can use their effect to block an attack. But I kind of disagree with that. I think that if you're in a situation where you're like, I will not be able to survive the next turn regardless of if I have perfect guards or not, then you may as well place them down and just hope you can get another attack in, because there have been times where that's won me the game in the past. So that's just me though. Of course, you know, it depends on what you're comfortable with, but I think that is a strategy that's worth looking at, and that's probably what I would have done. At least if I was planning on doing what one did and just attacking the Vanguard so much that you could hopefully get the win that turn. Now's where things are gonna get really interesting, because Yugo is gonna, undoubtedly, try and attack the Vanguard and win. But what he probably doesn't realize is just how many of those cards in the hand are perfect guards. Or maybe he has realized that, because of course, you know, it's not like he's been able to ride a grade 3 or anything, so what else could those cards in his hand be? So he's gonna be able to take out the intercept, like so. And now he's gonna have 2 clean shots at getting attacks through, even if he doesn't get a trigger. So seems pretty obvious to me as to what's going to happen here. He's going to try and get 2 attacks in, and both of them are going to fail because of the perfect guards, but I guess we'll see. So first attack, and one is probably going to chime in with the perfect guard here. If the game will play it, there we go, perfect guard. And now he's probably going to attack with the Vanguard. Again, this is why maybe I would have recommended Yugo play stands instead of crits. Ooh, spicy. He did not attack with his Vanguard there. I'm going to assume that was a misplay, because I don't think there was any point in not attacking with the Vanguard, but that's going to put him, that's basically going to decide the game, right? I don't see Yugo managing to make it back there, and one finally has the grade 3 unit he needed, with Blazing Flare Dragon, and he's going to use its Soul Blast to get rid of Goku. Oof, what an upset. And that's what you come to these tournaments for. You come to these tournaments for just the out of nowhere turn of the game, and once again now he's going to get another grade 3 that he needed. Not that he's going to have enough time to use it, of course, because Yugo has no perfect guards left, and ironically pulled the perfect guard as his trigger checks. So that was round 1 versus Yugo. Congrats for 1 for winning that first round, and join me back here in my next video as we will be seeing the next round. And spoilers, the next round is me playing, so that's going to be very exciting. So yes, join me back here for next round, and I will see you later with some more Vanguard Zero.